This is the capstone presentation on building the foundations for an indigenous Mexican language and cultural preservation platform.
My name is Logan, and my major is computer science.
My name is Joshua, and I'm also a computer science major.
And I'm Gabriel, majoring in communication design.
So for the background, what is Aprentech? For our capstone project, we work with the startup organization Aprentech. Aprentech's main goal is to help with native cultural accessibility and indigenous language preservation for languages such as Tiki. Digital resources for people who speak these indigenous languages are being used less and less as society develops, facing the future of being a forgotten language. Aprentech, for example, only had an interpretation service that connected indigenous speaking communities with certified interpreters of their language to help in settings such as healthcare, legal, and education. This service helps the indigenous Mexican language community, but it can only go so far.
So our initial goal of the capstone project was to create a simple learning platform for students to learn native languages through digital flashcards. However, we immediately ran into some challenges. So in the beginning, we experienced a lot of issues making significant progress on our original goal due to the nature of working with a startup where priorities are quickly changing. For example, our target audience changed and expanded to users outside of educational settings, to more of the general public and indigenous people whose cultures we're trying to preserve.
The solution, ironically, was to expand the scope of the project. This came in the form of Explore Culture, a page that encompassed both our initial language lesson project with flashcards and all that, as well as new features such as music playing functionality. Our initial audience of educational institutions will still get their native lessons, while indigenous tribes can also represent their culture in more diverse ways, such as native music. Certain parts of the Aprentech brand and website would also be refreshed to better represent the new focus of just native culture in general. Our new goal of creating a functional front end and back end and general brand identity guidelines would be much more attainable, while also leaving room for future development.
As for the technologies, the project uses Flask with Python as the main web framework. It also utilizes Flask Babel for the language and time zone localization. GUnicorn is the web server along with it, and Firebase is used for secure storage of user transactions. MongoDB is our main database service. We use it to store all of our indigenous language data. We store over 500 of Triki vocabulary currently. And we also utilize AWS S3 buckets to provide the audio files and image files that are stored in our MongoDB. And we also are utilizing Git and GitHub as our main form of version control.
So for me, Logan, my main contribution focused on the Explore Culture lessons experience. I worked closely with our project mentor, Aurelio, on making sure that the lessons displayed correctly from a lessons collection from the database, building out the lesson player behavior, ensuring that the lesson availability worked as expected from the lesson collection, pulling that from the database. So, for example, if a lesson was enabled in the lesson manager, it should appear in the Explore Culture lesson page, and if it was disabled, then it should stay hidden. I also worked on the guest lesson flow, where non-logged in users can try a sample lesson before logging in, with the progress being saved upon completing that lesson. And this helped connect the backend management system that Joshua will talk about to the user interface.
And as for our second key feature of the project, the one that I designed was the lesson management functionality. So this included building support for creating and organizing lessons so that they could be connected directly to the indigenous language translations stored in our database. So that development structure helped transform the language data into the interactive learning material that can be expanded over time.
So, for my role, given that the nature of Aprentech was a startup, it meant that budget-wise, the organization currently cannot afford traditional professional design software for consistent use. In addition, the company did not have any kind of graphic or visual designer beforehand, which meant that the choice of tools for this project needed to be accessible, budget-wise, and for ease of use-wise. Obsidian was used to take notes and map out certain flows of the website, as well as quickly sketch out how certain parts of the platform would work and look like. Inkscape served as a free and accessible alternative to commercial graphic design software such as Adobe Illustrator, and Figma was used to create UI prototypes of the pages such as the Aprentech homepage and Explore Culture. So, in terms of web design, I sketched and prototyped several redesigns for both the homepage and the Explore Culture page. These sketches were shared with my team members, Logan and Josh, and served to inform the general web design of the current implementation. The final design seen in the bottom right of this slide cannot be implemented in the actual site, unfortunately, within our current time frame. However, beyond this capstone, they will be used as, at the very least, reference for future developments for the website and the NativeCulture project. I also worked closely with the project mentor in refreshing the branding of Aprentech as a whole, which previously lacked documentation and proper organization for accessibility and guidance. The Aprentech brand was refreshed and importantly elaborated on with multiple versions of the logo for, say, darker and light backgrounds, as well as brand guidelines regarding its typefaces and primary colors.
So for our live demonstration, I will click here and then we'll get into it. So for the demonstration, I have my part, which is the lesson management or the lesson player. So let's get started here. So let's do animals. If you click on the card here, it'll flip and it'll tell you the native translation as well as the English and Spanish word. So let's go to the next word. Let's go speed by here. I know some of the words here. Lou is cat, yeah. And then let's do, then it'll have check the meaning. It's koali, so that's beetle. Lou is cat, so it's that. And so on and so forth. This is basically what we designed. All that. And there's the matching games. I believe this is this, cat, and butterfly. And there we are. And that's how.
And this is the interface mock-up for the homepage, and I'll also show Explore Culture. Here on the homepage, you can do some small things like click on these things to show the three main values and missions of Aprentech and learn more about them through scrolling down, play and interacting with some things. In the Explore Culture page, in general, I just made it more color-coded. Each language, when changed to it, will offer its own kind of colors and such alongside the corresponding content. Again, this didn't have time to be implemented within the actual website, but will be used for future development. And that would be the end of our presentation. We would like to thank our capstone instructors, Butsu and Paige Weiskirch, for providing the opportunity to work on this project. And we would also like to thank the project lead and our mentor, Aurelio Lopez, for supervising and facilitating our work.
Thank you.